right. Welcome, everybody. Today's topic is assignment groups and gradebook in Canvas. And we're so happy that you're able to join us. I'd just like to take a moment as I do the land acknowledgement to just acknowledge that we are here in this room on UBC's Okanagan campus in this Okanagan People Nation. And we're in a room that could have had guests in person, but we didn't have anybody come in person today except for the presenters. And then also our participants are on Zoom here with us today. So you may be in other lands or territories. I'm especially grateful to the people who have kept these lands for all these years. And, you know, UBC Okanagan uniquely founded through an MOU with the Indigenous local people. So this relationship has been a good relationship for a long time. And we're, you know, really building on that. And I'm also extremely grateful that we're sitting under clear skies and that we haven't had some of the forest fires that we've had in the past. So just as we situate ourselves, I know you're in your homes and your own places, and just taking this moment to be grateful for these lands that we are on. And let's get started. Thanks. So on our agenda today, we're going to be talking about the course assignments page. And this workshop is specifically geared for faculty and TAs who are creating gradebook columns and assignments. So that's kind of the intended audience. So we're going to go through those items that typically we would cover in working with them. So we also will be talking about weighting your grades to match your syllabus, rules such as dropping the lowest scores, and there's some great reasons for doing that. The gradebook grid, so for folks who want to use colors and icons, filters for a more visual way of looking at the gradebook. Grade posting policies and hiding grades and totals, really important things to discuss. Exporting and importing your gradebook columns, gradebook history, and the individual view. So I'm going to let Julie go ahead and drive this part of the session.
Yeah, I'm just going to switch over to get my meeting information out of the way. I am in a Canvas shell that I've set up for this workshop specifically, called Canvas Assignments Workshop. Actually, I used it in my assignments workshop as well. And this is the assignments page in Canvas. So every course has an assignments page, and the assignments page is an organizational tool for the gradebook. It's not just a place that you create assignments. It's a list of every graded assignment in your course. So that doesn't just include assignments, it also includes graded discussions, and it includes quizzes, and it also would include graded surveys in here. So there's only one ungraded thing that would show on this page, and that would be an ungraded assignment. And that is the exception because ungraded quizzes show on the quiz page and ungraded discussions show on the discussions page. But ungraded assignments can show on here and not in the gradebook. So by default, there is only one assignment group in your course, which is this assignments group. And in here, you can add every assignment that you want. Many instructors will do this. They will just add all their assignments into the assignments group and have no other assignment group. But you can have multiple assignment groups. So I'm just trying to catch myself up in here. Yes, every assignment and every assignment group is a column in the gradebook. So this will create a column in the gradebook, which is a summary column of all the assignments that are in this group. And this will be an assignment in the gradebook, and this will be another column in the gradebook. And I'm going to show you in a moment what that gradebook looks like. But first, I want to show you all the different assignment groups I have in this course. I have assignments. I have peer evaluations, weekly quizzes, midterm, final exam, not points, and imported assignments. Now, some of these say no assignments in the group. Others have assignments in them. I've just collapsed them to make it easier to look at for now. And Canvas will do your calculations for you, and it'll sum all of this information up and come to a final score. So when I go over to the gradebook now, which I can click grades, but I have another tab open so that's faster. There is, I'm going to get this out of the way. there's a column for every assignment. And if we look at my student CTLA at the top here, we've got not all assignments have been completed at this point. Only some assignments have been completed. But you can see student A has 86% in the course so far. And a little eyeball here, which means that the student actually doesn't see this grade right now because I've not posted all of my grades. Students only see the grades that have been posted. So I'm going to go back to my assignments page again, and I'm going to talk about assignment or course weighting.
Can I
Yep.
ask a question? So you were talking about assignment groups. Why would someone use assignment groups? Are you going to?
So that's what I'm about to talk about now. Yeah.
Okay.
So in a syllabus, you'll often have different categories, like your weekly assignments, your midterm, your final exam, your project, and so on. And that will be divided up into a weighting. So for example, your assignments might be worth 30% of the final score, and your midterm might be worth 35% of the final score, and your quizzes that you do each week in total will be worth 10% of your final score. Now, some instructors will make the points for each assignment so that it works out to that, so that their midterm is worth 35 points if it's 35% of the score. And if they have 12 weekly assignments and they're worth in total 10% of the course, they'll divide that all out. So each thing is worth like 1 point or something like that, and they'll mark it out of 1 point. You can do that. You can absolutely do that, but it's so much easier if you use grade weighting. And I'm going to show you, I showed you all of my assignment groups here. I can turn on grade weighting with these 3 dots up at the top and click on assignment group weights and turn on weight final grade based on the assignment groups. Now, I've already set this up in my course previously. My assignments are worth 40%. My IPER evaluations are 5%. My quizzes are actually 25%. I don't know why it's gone down to 0. My midterm is 15. Not points is anything I put in that. Even though it's still graded, it's not going to count towards the final score. And the same with my imported assignments. Now, my total adds up to 100%, but Canvas will not restrict you to 100%. I have seen instructors with a total of 115%, and then students have over 100% in the course because they've not set up the grade weighting correctly. So it's really important. I do this whenever I help an instructor with their grades to confirm that they do in fact have their grade weighting set to add up to 100%. So any questions? Any comments?
Sorry. So what about instructors who want to give bonus marks? So could they have their total then go to 105%?
Yes, that is. You can make where I've got the not points or the imported assignments, I could have a bonus points group, and I can have, maybe 2%, 5%. So students can earn extra points towards that 100% because Canvas will mark out of 100%. Whether you have your grade weighting total adding up to 100% or adding up to 80% or adding up to 105%, it will go out of 100%. So you can, so you can go over that. 100%.
So that would accommodate bonus
That
marks.
would accommodate bonus marks.
Okay.
Yes. So yes, I have that in my comment here. Make sure all the groups add to 100%, but you can add extra credit bonus marks to make a group go over 100%. So we saw previously that student A, before I applied grade weighting, is 86%. Now I've applied the grade weighting, so I'm going to refresh the gradebook. And that student now, this is a little challenging to see, this student now has 89% because I've weighted the grades. So previously it was just adding up all the points and dividing. Now it's weighting those grades.
Are there any questions?
Nope. All right. So then I did mention before that you can create a 0% group. So this 0% group, these are all assignments that don't count towards the final grade. It'll still show in the gradebook what the student received on that particular assignment, but it will not calculate that into the final grade. So one thing to talk about is when you are weighting assignments is that the points actually matter in here, even when you're weighting something. So if you want every single assignment in this assignment group to be worth the same amount towards the final grade. So if you have 5 quizzes throughout the term and your total is 10% for that, then if you want each quiz to be worth 2% toward of that 10%, then you do need them all the points to be the same value for every single assignment, because the way Canvas calculates is it's all based on points. So I think in my weekly quizzes here, I have shown that I've got a 10, a 10, a 10, a 10, and 100. So that 100 is actually, this quiz is way more important to my 25% than all of the others. All of the others are only 50 points out of 150. So it's very important to look at that that point total for each quiz. Did you have any comments about the points there?
Julie knows me so well. She knows I have a comment or question. But so the week 5 quiz out of 100 points will be weighted at a greater value than those 10 points.
That's right.
Which I think makes sense to me.
It does. It's if this was also 10 points, then this would be 1/5 of the 25%, and this would be 1/5. But because this one is 100 points,
right,
this is an insignificant amount. Okay. This quiz really is the one that matters, right?
Okay, thank you.
So if you did have something like this and you want each of these quizzes, I've got 5 quizzes here, and if I want each quiz to be worth 5% of the total, I can have quizzes out of different amounts. I would just need to make new assignment groups. So I would make another assignment group called week 5 quiz worth 5% of the total. And then Canvas will take that, whatever I got out of 100, multiply it by 5% and apply that to the final grade. You can do that. There's all sorts of ways to play around with the math to make it so that it works. It depends on how your syllabus is laid out, I guess. If your syllabus says that that your quizzes are worth 25% and each quiz will equally go towards that amount, then you do need to make sure that each quiz is worth 5%. But if you say, I'm going to have weekly quizzes and all of those weekly quizzes are worth 25% of your final score, then it's really at the instructor's discretion how they want to score each individual quiz. I've seen some that'll be, 12 points this week, 10 points this week, 14 points this week. And it has to do with how the instructor wrote the quiz and how they've scored that quiz. I'm going to move on to assignment group rules unless we have any other questions about grade weighting. All right, so an assignment group rule. You can apply a rule to an assignment group to drop the lowest or the highest score. I've been asked, when would you ever drop the highest score? I think that would be when, you can answer this or I can answer this. I've actually watched videos about it, and they talk about when you have a large number of assignments that you would drop the lowest and the highest score to get a better distribution of the type of what the students' scores are. Do you have any other comments, Bill?
I think the only comment I have is that with so many online quizzes being used to support student learning and to just help them check in and stay current, a lot of things can happen with technology, or a student has a bad week. And so we do recommend that if you're going to have many quizzes throughout the term, that they just automatically drop the lowest one, because that sort of gives the student a pass for having a bad exam. And especially because these are often used in large classes. So because, grades are extremely important to students. And so it can just sort of decrease the stress level if they did badly one week. And it also decreases the email in the inbox for the instructor with the student having great concerns over having one bad. The instructor can just say, you can mess up on one, it's okay, we're going to drop that one. Yeah. And that seems to be a more equitable way to deal with it.
Yeah. We also have the option here to never drop an assignment. So if there's one assignment in here that you think is incredibly important, for example, maybe you have an academic integrity quiz. You don't ever want the score for that dropped, then you can add that as a never drop assignment, and you can add as many never drop assignments as you need. So I'm going to turn on dropping the lowest score here, and I want to talk about how Canvas drops the lowest score. So when Canvas drops the lowest score, it doesn't drop the lowest percentage mark of an assignment. It drops the assignment that has the largest negative effect on the total score for this group. Now that doesn't really make a lot of sense until I show you the gradebook, and that's why I have 4 quizzes out of 10 and 1 out of 100 here. And I'm going to go back in here and refresh this page, and we remember that student A has 89% right now, and now I've dropped the lowest score, and they still have 89%. So I got to get to the quizzes. Weekly quiz. All right. So we have weekly quiz 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what Canvas does when it's dropping an assignment is it highlights the gradebook or the cell for the one that's being dropped in an orange color. And if you look at student A here, they got 10 out of 10. So 100%, 100%, 100%, 90%, and 95%. But Canvas has dropped the 95%, not the 90%. So I get questions from instructors who have variations in the denominator of the assignment, asking, why did Canvas drop this one? The student got a higher percentage in this assignment than they got in another assignment. So what has happened here, I've written down the math so I don't mess up.
So this is how it's supposed to work?
Yes, this is how it's supposed to work. I want to tell you what the student, it is counterintuitive. So here, if I keep these 4 scores and disregard this one, now my group is out of 40 points and my student has 39 out of 40. So 39 out of 40 is 97.5% that they got in this group. Now, if I kept this 95% one and dropped this group is now out of 130, and I got 125 out of 130, which is 96%. So I had 97.5% by dropping this score. And if I drop this score, I'll only have 96%. So the math does work. I've been asked many, many times to prove the math.
I can imagine.
So yes, this example does show how important it is to make sure that if you're using a rule to drop the lowest score, it's very important to make sure that those assignments all are worth the same amount. So I've done that here.
Or that you know how to explain it.
Or that you know how to explain it. Yeah. Yes. So at all the other ones here, it looks like everything's fine in the other ones, right? Oh, no, it doesn't. Look at student B got 70%, so 7 out of 10, and 75%, and it's the 75 that's being dropped. So, right. So Canvas knows. I am questioned about that one a lot. That's for you, Michael. You'll be asked about that a lot as well. Yeah. All right. Any questions about dropping scores? No? So I'll move on to the gradebook view options. So when you come into Canvas, or into the gradebook, by default, you're going to see this grid. And the course menu over here disappears. You know, when we're in the rest of our course, you have a course menu. But when you're in the gradebook, the course menu disappears. So if you need to get back to your assignments page when you're in here, there's a little, what they call a hamburger menu over here. And the hamburger is the 2 buns and the burger inside. And you can click that and pull your menu back up again. But by default, it is hidden. So if you wanted to add a column into this gradebook, there is no way in here to, you know, like when you're in Excel, you can right click and add column and that sort of thing. You cannot do that from in the gradebook. You actually have to go back to the assignments page and create an assignment. So every assignment that you create will add a new column into the gradebook. And when I scroll in this gradebook, you can see every assignment. Oh, where's my scroll bar?
At the bottom.
Yes, there it is. You can see every assignment and it'll give me, oh, my mouse has just died. This is not good.
Really?
Yeah. What? My mouse has stopped working. So okay, I'll use this instead. So every assignment is shown, and it has an out of a number of points. So out of 100, and I'll keep scrolling. This is an unpublished assignment, so it creates a column, but I can't see what it's out of. I can't add any grades into it because it's not published yet. And all of those out of. And then we get to some columns that say 40% of grade, 5% of grade, 25% of grade, 15% of grade. Those are all the groups on the assignment page. So all the boxes that have the gray, of course, I can't use my mouse now. On that assignments page, all of these gray boxes, which are title boxes, which you would think, oh, that's just a title. It doesn't do anything in the grade book. IPER, 5% of total. Go back over here, IPER, 5% of grade. So that's a summary of all of the assignments that are in that group converted into a percentage score. So you can drag these around wherever you like them. So maybe I didn't want this assignments here. I can just drag it over to wherever I want it. So anything can be rearranged by dragging it. I can also go view, arrange by default order, and that should put that back into its correct location again with all the assignment groups at the end of the gradebook. I found that as you're adding new assignments, sometimes the new assignments will show up over here after these summaries, or your total will end up somewhere in the middle of the gradebook and you can't find it. You can always reset it again by going arrange by default order and put it back, or you can arrange it by another order that makes sense to you. Maybe you want all your assignments by alphabetical order, or you want to look at them by due date, by the points, the highest points to the lowest, etc. There's all sorts of different ways that you can organize this gradebook to show the way that works for you.
Can you sort a column?
So yes, you can sort a column. So I wish my mouse was working. Put it off for a bit. So if I go to a column that has numbers in it, okay, I can sort this column by the lowest to the highest grade. And now all my students are no longer in alphabetical order. Or what ones are missing? Well, I haven't marked anything as missing. So, so nothing's missing. It's all at the bottom. You can also, when you're viewing, I've got, as I showed you as we went through, I have some unpublished assignments in here. You can hide those unpublished assignments, because if you only want to see the assignments that are active in your course right now, you can just do that view and hide the unpublished assignments. And there's also an option to turn on a notes column. And the notes column is super handy if you have, for example, a student who has accommodations through the DRC, and you have a large class and you want to remember what student or students have that DRC accommodation. You can add that note in here, and the students don't see that note. That's just a note to the instructors to be able to see that, and many instructors are not aware of this notes field, and when you show it to them, they're quite impressed that you can add that in there.
And do TAs, I know we have a TA in the room, do TAs have the same access and view as instructors?
Yes.
And same abilities?
Yes,
completely?
they do.
Okay.
Yeah. And unless they are not a TA grader.
Okay.
So there's different categories of TAs, but most of the TAs that we work with are graders as well. Okay. So I've showed you how to turn on the notes, how to arrange the order of the different columns in the gradebook. But there's also, I have a lot going on in this gradebook. I'm going to try my mouse again, see if it works. Oh, good, it does. So I have a lot of columns in here. I can also turn on filters. And I can filter by assignment group, which creates a new little box up here. I can filter by sections, because I have more than one section in this course. Most courses have just one section in them, but sometimes we will combine two sections into one, or we'll link labs into a lecture course, and that will include all of the lab sections as well. And there's one more filter here, which is student groups. And student groups are groups that I have set up within this course. By default, you don't have any groups, but you can create those. And now I can filter. So I only want to see, for example, those weekly quizzes. And I filter by the weekly quizzes. And now all of the other items, all of the other assignments disappear. So I'm going to turn off the notes because it's just adding an extra column there. But now you can only see those weekly quizzes, and then all the summaries, because you can always see the summaries for the assignment group. So all those percentage. So when you filter in this gradebook, you can also filter, as I've shown, by student group. So I can just, so right now it's showing my entire list of students. I can click here, and now I am filtering just by my student group. Now it's important to note, yesterday I showed how to filter SpeedGrader by student group. If you filter your gradebook by student group, but don't have an option turned, the specific option turned on to filter SpeedGrader by student group, when you go into the SpeedGrader from here, you'll still see all of the students, even though only a few of them are listed in here. I did talk about how to turn that on when we were in our SpeedGrader. I don't know if you want me to show again or no. No, okay. And then, okay, so my next part I'm going to talk about, does anyone have any questions about filtering? So, and the filtering also is something, when I have shown that to instructors, I think many are not aware that you can filter your gradebook like that too.
One of the things, and this may have been covered in communication, but would this be the place where I can look to see who's maybe missed an assignment or failed, and I can email that group of students to offer extra support? Or
yes, there is a message students who, here we go, message students who, and that's where we can see have not yet submitted, have not been graded. Yeah, you can also do that from the new analytics function.
So part of retention, just sending that personal message to students, and it sends an email message. Like our inbox. Okay, thank you.
All right, so the next thing I was going to talk about is colors in the gradebook. So you can't just say, I want this cell to be a certain color. Great, it automatically applies colors for you. So that orange that we talked about back here, that orange, that means that assignment has been dropped. And from the student view, they're actually going to they'll see their score, but they'll have a little note next to it saying dropped. So it doesn't count towards the final score. And then there are blue things here. So this blue, I can click the right arrow to pull up a side panel, and it gives me a little clue as to what the different colors mean. The blue means that it was submitted late. It was submitted after the due date, and this one was particularly late. It was over 26 days late. But and if you had a late policy, I don't know that a lot of people have a late policy, but if you have a late policy that you decrease what the score is, or what the grade the student can get over time, this late would take that into a consideration.
And would you manually add excused here if a student said
yes,
had a good reason and you decided to excuse?
I will show you how to excuse. It's 2 down from here. We have pink, which is missing. So the pink and the orange look very similar, but you can check over here and see that that's missing. So pink, and then this yellow, sort of a yellow. It's kind of a different kind of orange. That's the excused. So you can excuse them in here, or an easier way to do it is just type EX in the gradebook, EX, enter, and now it automatically changes it to excused. We use that a lot when there is a DRC student, so a student with an accommodation, who requires a different format of exam from the main cohort of students. So for example, a student needs an exam with a larger font, so that they can see what the text easier than the rest of the students. We would create a second exam for them. and assign it only to them. And then we, instead of assigning the first exam to, if it's a class for 200, to 199 students so that they can't access it, we just excuse the student from the original exam, and they still see that exam in their grade book and in their assignments, but they can't access it, and it's not counted towards their final grade.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, now, what if they're excused? What if the instructor decides that it was okay that they missed that assignment completely?
They can be excused that way as well.
And then will it just calculate the rest of their grades
Yeah.
from the rest of the grades?
Yeah.
But still, like.
So it will adjust what that assignment group is out of. So if the assignment group was out of 50 and each assignment was 10 points, and the instructor excused them from one of the assignments, then for that particular student, the assignment group will now be out of 40.
So they'll still have an accurate percentage.
They will still have an accurate percentage.
As if they did all the work. Okay,
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
I have one other color, which I had to manipulate around to get this color to work. This is green. And in the next thing I'm going to talk about is icons, but which are these little images in here. But green means if I click on it, if I click on all the others, there's no grade in there. If I click on this green one, this student has been graded, but you can't see the grade. The reason is if I click over here, you'll see, maybe you don't. You just have to know. It doesn't give you a clue. This is a resubmitted assignment. So when I go into SpeedGrader for this one, it will actually tell me that use the same grade for the resubmission. So it's giving you a clue what's going on here, but it's not giving you a very good clue in the gradebook other than that green column or that green cell. So the green cell means the student has submitted something previously and it's been marked, and now they've resubmitted again. So you need to go into SpeedGrader and check the new submission and see whether or not you're going to regrade it or if you're going to give them the same grade that they got on their first submission.
And if you regrade, it will use the regraded?
It will use the regraded, yes.
Okay.
And you do have to put something in because Canvas will not properly calculate the score if there's an icon in the gradebook. All right, so if you click View Statuses, that's where you can see what all of the color clues are. So we have our resubmitted is listed in here, but you'd have to know to click View Statuses to see what they are. So that's it for colors. The next is icons. And we do get questions about the icons from new instructors as well. Why do I not have a number in my gradebook? Why do I have this little image? So that image, what it looks like if you look closely at it, it looks like a little assignment, like a piece of paper with writing on it and a circle with an exclamation in it. It's very, very tiny little circle. So what that basically means is there's a submission that you need to go look at within the SpeedGrader and grade it. That's all it means, that you need to go look at it. And so for a quiz will also have that. Do I have any quizzes that? Maybe not. Yeah, a quiz will do the same thing. It'll also put that little icon in the gradebook. And sometimes when you click it, just like here where you see a grade already, in a quiz you'll click it and you'll see a grade already, and that's the automatically graded portion of the quiz. But in some quizzes you'll have manual graded questions. So like an essay question where the instructor or TA does need to go into SpeedGrader and apply a grade. And I did talk about that in the quizzes workshop yesterday. Don't know if I need to go over it again, but that's what the icon means. There's attention required within SpeedGrader. Another icon that's in the gradebook is the crossed out eyeball. So right here, all of these students have grades, but I have a crossed out eyeball. And what the crossed out eyeball means is that students can't see the scores that you've given to them. You've not yet posted the scores. So you can post those scores to the students and get rid of the little eyeball by clicking the 3 dots and clicking post grades. And it's going to ask me, do you want to post the grades for everyone or only for the ones that have been graded so far? And it also highlights here, these are the ones that are currently hidden. The students can't see them. So I'll post the grades. And now there's no little eyeball. All the students can now see those scores.
We definitely recommend faculty that they would not show the grades until everyone is graded.
Yeah.
Because what can happen is that, that worry because students are always looking for grades, and the student says, oh, I got my grade, did you get yours? And another student doesn't have it yet because the faculty member hasn't graded it. And
we'll get into the posting policy in a moment.
Okay.
But yes, if you've accidentally posted your grades. So for here, I posted the grades for these students, but none of these students have submitted yet, and I didn't mean to post them. I can actually hide the grades again.
Okay.
So I'm going to hide all of the grades, and the eyeball will come back. And now everybody's.
And even if you accidentally posted for 2 minutes, from experience, it seems like there's always at least
they get notices.
Student that saw the grade.
They're notified when the grades are posted. So yeah. So I was next going to talk about everything that's in this 3-dot menu here. So this is the options menu, which is available at the top of every assignment, but it's not available at the top. Well, it is, but it doesn't have any option other than to sort. So when you only have an option to sort, that's the assignment group. So it's the summary. But, now I've messed things up. I don't know what I've done. Pull that back up again. So the 3 dots we can sort by, which we talked about previously. We can access SpeedGrader for this assignment. We can message the students which we talked about a little bit earlier. So that's when you want to message students maybe who haven't submitted yet, or who you want to resubmit because their grade is below a certain amount. You can curve grades. So this is not reversible. When you curve grades, it's a final thing. However, I have seen a use case for this. And the use case was where I believe it was in a lab, and everyone got their lab mark. But then at the end of the term, the instructor actually wanted to give everyone full marks as long as they had participated in the lab. And they said, how do I adjust all of my scores so that everyone gets 10 out of 10? Because I honestly just wanted them to participate. They got the feedback already on how they did, but I want to give them full grades in the gradebook for it. And this is the only case I've seen to use curved grades, where we curve everybody up to 100%.
So what about just normal curving?
I've not seen people curve otherwise.
Okay. It is something that folks, I've seen an increase putting on the syllabi since COVID, is faculty putting the policies that they have that they can decide to curve grades. So this is something new that came out, I guess, with the concerns around academic integrity. So I'm not familiar if folks are actually doing it, but it is on many of the syllabi since COVID. Yeah,
so if you were to do that in here, I guess right now the average grade is 60 out of 100, and I can adjust that.
Okay.
The next one was to post the grades. Set default grade. So the set default grade, we actually do recommend at the end of the term, when you're ready to submit your grades, that you go through your gradebook, and anywhere where there's a dash in the gradebook, Canvas actually treats that the same as an excused. So if there's a dash in the gradebook, it doesn't calculate that score towards the final mark. So this particular student G, who's not submitted very much, if I go to the end, G has 45%, or look at F has 78%, but they've not submitted very many things. We would recommend that you go through and set the default grade to 0. And you do not check the overwrite already entered grades, because that will change everybody's grade to 0. And click set default grade.
You do this at the end of the term.
The end of the term,
all
your grading is done. And this is just to make sure anybody who missed an assignment, if they were supposed to hand that assignment in, if that assignment is meant to be part of their final grade, if you don't give them a 0, Canvas will treat it as though it's excused. So you do
So
need
they
to
get
give them a zero.
artificially inflated grade.
An artificially inflated grade, correct. Post grades, hide grades, we've done the hide grades. Now, the next one is the enter grade as. So you can enter your grade as points or percentage. So here you can flip back and forth between them. So this assignment is actually out of 100, and in my assignment, I set it to be points, but I can show in the gradebook as points or percentage.
So out of 100, that's easy for most people, but if it was out of 63,
yeah,
it would calculate that.
Yeah, or out of 24, I have one there out of 24.
Okay.
So on out of 30, enter grade as percentage. There you go.
Okay.
So, and then the last one on here is the grade posting policy. So we can set that up, which we'll talk about in a moment, how to set up the grade posting policy for the entire course. But you notice that in my course, all of these assignments have the little word manual here, except for my quizzes. So the manual is a manual grade posting policy, which means that I can go in and edit the grades, I can add comments, and nothing goes to the students until I'm ready to send it to them. And that's why the little eyeball is there, because I've entered grades but not sent them to the students. So if you want that for this quiz that does not have a manual grade posting policy, if I want to set up the grade posting policy just for this one individual quiz, I can go through the 3 dots and choose a manual grade posting policy. And it gives you some information here about what will the students not be notified about now, or what will they be notified about, and save. And now it's a manual grade posting policy, but these grades were already posted, so they're not hidden from the students at this point. I would need to hide them if I wanted to hide them. So I had one here, download submission. So that would be for this online assignment. There's another option in here. If your students are submitting online, like uploading a file, then from within the gradebook, you can click on those 3 options and you can download submissions, which will download a zip file of all of the submissions from the students. So you can look at them offline if you'd like.
Just back to the grade posting policy, maybe you're going to talk about this some more, but I had
Actually the next one.
Oh, okay. All right, then go. We'll see.
Okay, so the next part is about the settings for your course, which is a gear icon up here. So this is settings overall for all assignments. And I'm going to start with the first one, which is the late policy. And you can use this to automatically apply a grade of 0 for missing assignments. So what that does, though, is as soon as the assignment passes the due date, it assigns a 0 to it. Yes, that some instructors do that because they don't want to do that set default grade at the end. So you can automatically apply a grade for a missing submission. That ensures that you're not going to have that dash in the gradebook at the end of the term. So it's up to you if you want to do that. And there's also this ability to automatically apply a deduction for late submissions. So in that one, you maybe they lose, I don't know, 5% per day. You can do per day or per hour. It's pretty strict. And then give them their lowest possible grade is maybe 50%. So if you graded them at 100% and they're 10 days, 20 days late, even if you have deducted a certain amount of percentage, which would take them down to 0%, the lowest possible grade they can get is 50%. So if it brings it down, I also have not ever seen anyone use this.
I think a lot of people say it on their syllabi or to the students, but I don't know that they set it up in the gradebook like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The next one is the grade posting policy. So by default, all courses in Canvas start with an automatic grade posting policy. So when you come into this gearbox, automatically this one will be selected. And this is the one where as soon as a student submits their quiz, if it's got any automatically graded portions of it, so that would be like your multiple choice and that sort of thing, the students will get their grade immediately upon submission. And if you have an automatic grade posting policy and the instructor is working in SpeedGrader, as soon as they enter a number into the grade box, it goes to the student. So if you, some instructors like that, and there are definitely situations where you want to automatically post your grades. If you have a quiz, for example, that's out of 5 points and they have multiple attempts on it, and it's like test your learning, then yeah, it's great to have an automatically posted grade posting policy. But in general, we recommend this manual grade posting policy, which adds the little word manual to every single column header and allows you to do your grading at your own pace without telling the students immediately every time you've made a change. So did you want to talk more about this?
Yeah, and just back to the point around not posting grades until everything is graded, because students talk to each other, and if someone has a grade and the next person doesn't, they really worry about that. And so it causes a lot of unnecessary extra communication to the instructor that they can avoid. Now, the other thing, and my experience with Gradebook was some years ago, actually, so there's a lot of nice new features that I'm seeing here. It used to be, and I'm not sure if it's still true, that if for instance, if TAs were grading, they might put a grade in, and then the faculty member might come back and review, or even the faculty member after grading everybody might review, and that may result in changing a grade to a higher or a lower grade. And there's something around that history that is tracked.
It is. That's a little further down. We're going to talk about the history.
Okay, good, because then it becomes really important that we can justify why a student's grade is, particularly if it went down. I mean, most students aren't going to care if it went up. They're going to be pretty excited. But if it went down.
Yes, but if you have that manual grade posting policy, they're actually not going to know that their grade went down.
Okay.
So because they'll only know the final that you post.
Unless they request that information through, which they can for freedom of information. So that's something that we need to keep in mind as well.
So there's one more option on here, which is the advanced option. Which is only one little box, which is allow final grade override. So if I turn this on, it actually gives a new column in the gradebook at the very end, this override column. And that would be for tweaking the final grade of a student to make it a little different from what Canvas has calculated. So maybe the student is like 0.5% away from passing. The instructor can go in here and override that grade. So I can override this, well, it's 89%, but I can override it and make it 90% as the final grade. So the student would see the override grade in their grade book as their final score.
Nice.
Wow. Yes. So in display of individual grades in the grade book. So I have an assignment group here called No Points. Or not points. And this is the one I'm using to show the different ways that you can show things in the gradebook. So you can show, we already talked about points everywhere. I mean, we can see that these are out of 25 points. Each of these are out of 25 points. But this one we're displaying as a percentage grade. This one displays as a complete or incomplete. So a check mark or an X would be a complete or incomplete. And the complete or incomplete is full marks or no marks. So this one is either 100% or 0%. And then we have a letter grade, and the GPA and letter grade both work the same at UBC. We don't have a GPA scale set up within Canvas. We do have a letter grade scale. But if instructors, and I have had instructors want to show a letter grade within the grade book, if you want to show the letter grade, you have to make sure that you have set the UBC grade scale within Canvas. By default, it's not set. So how you would set that was go into the settings for the course. And then you would go down to enable a course grading scheme, and then you would need to set the grading scheme. So the grading scheme that was in the gradebook that I just showed you, that's the default for Canvas, and it's not UBC's grading scheme. So then you would set the grading scheme, and this is the default that is set up, and I'm going to select a different grading scheme, and I'm going to select UBC's undergraduate grading scheme.
So is that in there by default now?
It is in there by default. We have undergraduate, master's, and doctoral.
And this is important. We had an instructor come from the States, and apparently our point system and percent grading scheme is very different than in the States. And the instructor was, all of the student grades were at A's and B's when he thought that they should have been at B's and C's. And so that was a really tough one to change.
So yeah, so when I've added that now, and now, I mean, I don't know if anything's changed because I can't remember what I put in these, but now these would be accurately representing the UBC grading scheme.
And one group that we often see using the grades is, particularly the one I can think of right now, is writing in engineering, because they don't want the students to focus on that they got 41 out of 45. So they try to just make it be a B plus and A minus, and then that's kind of a range, and that has to do with their rationale with the pedagogy and assessment in writing for engineering. So there's different reasons for doing that.
I'm just going to switch over to what the student view is of the gradebook. And if I refresh this page, because we've got grade weighting and so on now. So for the student view of the gradebook, I can see on the right-hand side what the grade weighting is for this course. So I know that my assignments are going to be worth 40% and so on. And I can see all of my assignments. Now, online assignment 1, I believe there is a score in the gradebook, but the student can't see it because I've not posted it. So that little eyeball that we see in our gradebook in the grid view just shows as an eyeball crossed out in the student view as well. So, and then this one was late. It was blue in our gradebook. They get a little notice that it's late. This one was missing. So that one was marked as missing in the gradebook, and they get a notice that it was missing as well. And by default, the students actually see, I guess I've not published everything, only weekly quizzes has been published. I've published all the grades or posted all the grades for the weekly quizzes. So by default, the students see how they are doing so far in that assignment group and so far in the course. For everything that's been published is what they see so far. So far, I think I have 97.5%, but this is student A, I believe. Yes, this is student A. So when we were looking in that gradebook, that student actually has 89% from the instructor view, but not everything has been published. So
ask about that little check mark there where it says calculate based on,
only on graded assignments. So if I click that off, how is it calculating now? Now it's calculating not based on graded assignments, but based on everything in the entire course, assuming that I have 0 for everything that is not yet being graded.
Okay.
So also by default, so you can see here, there's a little X. That is my assignment that has been dropped. And if I hover over it, it says this assignment is dropped. It will not be considered in the total calculation. So it does notify the student what one is being dropped. I'm trying to remember how to click it. I can test a different score, like how, if I got a different score on this exam, how would I have done? So I can enter that and see how it affects my mark.
Oh.
So I don't have a great way to find here a whisker plot. I guess I don't have that turned on. So by default, students can see that final, I don't know what assignment it was on, and I don't want to play around with it right now to do it. But they also see a whisker plot, which shows them the grade distribution for the entire course. So when they click on one of these assignments, if it's being posted, and I have none posted right now, unfortunately, other than my quizzes.
Does that have to be in the settings?
It is turned on in the settings by default. So by default, the students see a whisker plot. So it would be like if my assignment 1, if I posted everything, so they'll see like a little distribution of how the entire class has done. And if it's a relatively small class, they can deduce from that how they have done compared to other people and figure out other marks within the course. So I'm going to show how to turn those whisker plots and those summaries off. So I'm back to the gradebook here. And once again, my mouse is not working.
So it probably should be turned off for a small class.
So yeah, so you would do this in a little hidden section of the settings. So you go to the settings page, and at the very bottom is this very small more options. And there's extra options in here. And this is where you would hide the totals in the student grade summary, and you would hide those grade distribution graphs from the students. So now instead of the students seeing what their total is, they'll just see a little message saying that your instructor has hidden the grades for this course. Some instructors like to do that. Some instructors like to hide it because they're not using the grade weighting and they're doing their grade weighting offline and they think that it confuses the students. Others find that students complain when they can't see that total. So,
of course. Yeah.
Any comments about the hiding or
no?
All right, so we will move on to exporting and importing the gradebook. So it is possible. This is actually brand new. Since I started creating this workshop, there's export current gradebook view and export entire gradebook. And the export current gradebook view is if you have a filter turned on in this gradebook. And so if I'm filtering right now, I'm filtering for this not points assignment group. If I export the current gradebook view, it will only export the assignments in the not points assignment group. So, and whereas the export entire gradebook exports everything in the entire course. Previously, it was just import and export, and it would just do the whole course. So what that does is it exports a comma separated value, a CSV file that you can open in Excel, and you can make adjustments in Excel. You can then import that information back into the gradebook. If you are going to do something like this, you really should know what you're doing. I have had instructors who have exported the gradebook to get the columns. So at the beginning of the term, they exported the gradebook, they got the columns for all their assignments. So they had, their midterm, their project proposal, that sort of thing. And then as students finished their assignments, he was marking it in Excel and then uploading it back to the gradebook. So that was fine the first time he did it. But the second time he did it, he started from that same blank sheet that he had previously. And now, so he had the midterm in there, and now he was doing the project mark. So this time he left the midterm column blank, and he put in the project column. He put in the project marks, and then he uploaded it. And what that did is it blanked out all the grades in Canvas for the midterm and gave all the grades, like added all the grades for the project. So students immediately started contacting him. Where has my midterm grade gone? Why do I no longer have a midterm grade? And he's like, there's something wrong with Canvas. So he re-uploaded the midterm grade, and now all the project grades disappeared because he'd saved a different Excel file for each.
It overwrites.
It overwrites. So if you are using the import function, you really need to delete the columns for every assignment that you're not updating, and only upload the column that you are updating. And if you're uncomfortable with, or you're not quite sure that you're going to do it correctly and you're afraid, which frankly I can understand. The first time I did it, I was a little afraid myself. We definitely welcome instructors to email us at the help desk, and we will walk them through the process. No problem.
Yeah, and I think the other thing they would do is export that to manipulate the gradebook so they can upload their formal grades.
That's correct.
To the Faculty Service Center. So,
Yeah.
And that needs to be in a very specific format. But I think that most instructors are downloading the gradebook if they're using it and then uploading
to the faculty service
Faculty
centers.
Service
Yeah.
Center.
And we have instructions on our support site on how to format the gradebook for upload into the faculty service center.
Yeah, because
So-
Gradebook in Canvas is not the formal official grades ever. So we also had errors in the past where folks thought that because they'd done it here that it was done, but it needs to go to the registrar's office. Yeah.
Yeah, so I had some example uses here listed of when we would export and then import. So some instructors that I've seen, instead of it entering the mark directly into Canvas, they'll do it in Excel, and that would be maybe a paper exam that was marked offline and they've entered their grades into Excel. If they had a problem with the assignment grade and they've got a large group of students and they want to give everybody a bonus mark, I've seen them export, add 10 points to everyone or however they want to do it, and then import it back into Canvas so that they can quickly adjust the grades for everyone. If they wanted to adjust, if an instructor has gone in and edited a quiz after the students have taken it by deleting a question, that turns all of the grades in the gradebook into an icon. Because they've now, if the quiz was out of 25 and is now out of 24, Canvas says, oh, you need to check to make sure that your grade is correct. And if you're going to do it through Canvas, you have to go through the speed grader and click update score for every single student. But you can export the gradebook and import it back in, and then Canvas realizes that, oh, that's what you meant to do. I'm okay. Yeah. Yeah. So Janine earlier was talking about the gradebook history, which is the next thing I'm going to show. You can see in the gradebook history every single change that has been made in the gradebook. So you can see here, this is where I turned on that final grade override, and I gave them, they had no grade override, and I gave them 90%, and then I deleted that 90%. So, and it shows you the time. This is actually how we figured out what was happening with the instructor whose grades were blanking out every time he uploaded an Excel file. We went in here and found, oh, look at all the grades turned blank at the same time. So that gives us an indication as to what is happening. So you can see who made the changes, what student, what assignment. You can search. You can search by grader, student, artifact, which is your assignment. You can search by dates
And show
on. And so I've got more than one grader in this group, in this course. I've got CTLJ. And then we've got this not available. So what does not available mean? That means that I didn't grade it and CTLJ didn't grade it. So who graded it? Do you know?
I think it's the automatic grading.
That's correct. So that's the automatic grading in a quiz that is a not available grader.
Typically multiple choice or.
Yeah. So yes, so I've got, I already talked about the example was how when we've used this when the instructor blanked out all of his assignments, but we've also used it when there's multiple graders in the course, and maybe a TA has come in and graded over top of what an instructor has graded. Something we talked about in the speed grader workshop yesterday is when you load speed grader, it loads all of the assignments as they are right now. So all of the grades, all of the assignments as they are right now. If another instructor or a TA loads speed grader at the same time, the first speed grader will not update with what the second person in speed grader is doing. So it's not live. It will only show you what you're grading. So if two people are grading the same person at the same time, this gradebook history will show the time that the instructor added the grade, and then maybe the TA went to the same student, but didn't see those updates because they loaded speed grader at the same time. This history will show that the TA made a change to the grade. So that's all I had on gradebook history, and I've only got one more quick topic, and we have used a lot of our time. And my last topic is the individual gradebook. So the individual gradebook is different from the grid view, and in this, You have different options that you can look at one student at a time. You can still download all of the scores. This does exactly the same as what the export gradebook does from the other page. And you can still upload from here. So that's import gradebook. But you can select a specific student.
So you might do this in a consultation with the student.
Yeah. Okay. So you can look at a specific student, and I've not selected an assignment at this point, and it will show me how they're doing overall in the course. And then I can select a specific assignment. So online assignment A or 1, and then I can see how they did in that assignment, although I don't think this one has been posted yet. I can excuse this assignment for this student. I can look at the submission details, so that would pull up the speed grader to show me how they did. I can add notes in here, see their final grade, and so on. I can even, like down here, I can click to see what were the requirements for this assignment. I can download all the submissions for that assignment. I can see how the entire class has done in comparison to that student, what the average score was, the high score, and the low score. But one thing to note, if you do go into this, and this is also the same as the 3 dots, you can message students who, set the default grade, and curve grades from in here. I don't think most instructors use this page for that. I think it's more for looking at individual student grades. But this is a persistent view. So if I go away from this page and then come back into the gradebook again, it will remember the individual view. And oftentimes instructors will be confused as to, why do I see this? I should be seeing a grid. You do need to go back and click Gradebook to get back to the grid. And that was everything I had. And I know it was long and a lot, but hopefully that provides some insight into how the gradebook works in Canvas.